What's the matter, Danny?
And here we are at XM Satellite Radio. We got Slash in studio here at XM, and Danny was trying to show off playing Guitar Hero 3, right?
Yeah.
Guitar Hero 3, the new one, in front of Slash, and you were bragging pretty good the last couple of days, but then you had to do it in front of Slash, and you failed miserably.
Yeah, I can't do anything in front of Slash.
You failed miserably.
I'm surprised I'm able to stand up in front of Slash.
Yeah, nothing's more humiliating than what I did. But then if this calibration was off, that's what it was, because I just
I mean, it's good now, but I can't function. My heart's racing, my hands are shaking, I can't even do it.
Slash,
I need a little bit of practice anyway, because I got one at home, and I put it on thinking I'm going to kill at this, and my security guard was over at my house, and I said, check this out, and I couldn't play it. I was like, wow, I'm really out of practice. I was really addicted to it for a minute. I couldn't put it down. I had to beat the whole game in one sitting.
Yeah, that's how I was with the new one.
Didn't answer the phone, didn't eat dinner, didn't, you know.
Yeah, that's the problem with video games.
Yeah, very addicting,
That's why
man. Love it.
I try not to play too many because my personality is such. I got that OCD thing.
Yeah, same thing.
When it comes to certain things, and one of them is video games, I just go into another world, and I cannot physically stop.
I can't either. I have to beat it. I have to get to the next thing, and it's just...
Yeah. You're featured in that game, too. Huh?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I actually wrote some music for it, too, like when you first turn the game on and it goes up that cliff with the guys dueling it out. That's me.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
That's definitely cool.
In
It's
the
better-
boss battle.
A lot better than the Journey video game music that was on the... I remember that one.
Wait, what was that? Oh, we talked about that recently. What was that again?
It was that Journey video game that was
didn't
up
know
at
there was one.
WBCN. It came out in like 82.
Yeah, it was
or
for
something
Atari.
Like,
Like it was really old school Atari.
and it
was
had
awful.
nothing to do with a band or anything. It's like the members of Journey are in space or something, and you had to jump around. It was pick with all the
And you had to say
horrible
Journey from
sounds.
space or
I'm
something?
sure there'll be a Kiss game coming out if there isn't one.
Yeah, I'm sure Gene will.
Aerosmith's got a game coming out. Activision just told me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
09, I think.
speaking of Kiss, we could seg into the book. I had no idea that Paul Stanley was trying to
Produce us?
produce you guys back in the day. No
Those are
clue.
Good times.
Good times.
I mean, yeah, I mentioned that because I felt bad. Right after we told him to you know that we weren't interested, I did some interview for the LA Times, and I slagged him. Because I you know, that was my attitude at the time, and and then having forgotten that I'd slagged him, I called him up to see if I could get some free guitars from him, and he was like, what did he say? He goes, you shouldn't air your dirty laundry, and hung up on me. I was like, hey, what'd I do?
Have you talked to him since or no?
I did. I actually, what prompted me to put that in the book was I ran into him and Gene at the Rock Honors in Vegas, and I was actually playing a Kiss song, and they were the headlining. You know, they come on the shows for them. It's Rock Honors Kiss, and so they have all these different bands playing Kiss songs. And Tommy Lee, myself, Rob Zombie, Gilby Clarke, and Ace Frehley got up together and did a Kiss song, and I saw Gene and Paul afterwards, and I sort of apologized to Paul. You know, I can't be a prick forever, you know.
Yeah, I say I'm an Ace freak. He's the one member of Kiss I hadn't met.
He played last night.
I saw him.
Did you go?
I got a picture, of course. I groveled.
I emailed him last night. I texted him last night, and I said, what time are you playing and where? And he just now texted me back saying, I thought I told you where it was.
That's great.
Hey,
How was it?
He was fucking amazing
Was it
because
amazing?
he's sober now, and the set list was amazing. He started with like I think Rip It Out. It was so fucking
I would
good.
have loved to have gone to that.
And I'm a comedian, so a couple of us were backstage and we got introduced to him. And Ace goes, "You guys are comedians. Give me a joke." And I'm trying to think of a joke. I'm like, I've never fucking felt unfunnier in my life than when Ace asked for a
couldn't
joke.
come off
him
of that.
playing Guitar Hero.
Was that?
Sort of like him playing Guitar
I was a
Hero.
complete blithering, incompetent idiot.
He played
panicked?
Guitar
I
Hero.
completely panicked. I had nothing to say.
Hey, getting back to Paul Stanley really fast. God bless you guys that, like any young band trying to make it, and all of a sudden you got Paul Stanley in front of you going, I want to produce you guys. I would imagine 99 out of 100 bands would go for that move no matter what. But you saw
we were
something.
pretty hardcore. We didn't want anybody messing with their stuff that wasn't supposed to be. And I remember when we got the phone call from Geffen saying Paul Stanley wants to produce you guys, we were like, you know, to us, he represented the rich, fat rock star, and we weren't into it. But Steve Adler is a huge Kiss fan, and actually, when I first started playing guitar, it was basically with Steven Adler playing Kiss, you know, all the time. And so we had him come down, and we were loaded. Or at least I was, Izzy was, and we're all nodding out on the couch. I mean, you know, I can't really verbally give you a picture of it, but anyhow. And so he hung around for a little while, and we had some dialogue, and we played a gig at what used to be Gazzari's, and he was at the board mixing the gig, and we were like, don't touch the board, man. And then he came down to one of our real gigs at a place called Raji's, which is this sweaty little dive, and it was like at a regular volume in a place where the people are like right here, and that was like our real element, and he saw that, and he was like, Jesus Christ, you know, these guys are, you know, anyway. And then after that, we just said, you know what, we're not really interested, and that was it.
Yeah, and that's in the book. I got to tell you, the book's called Slash, and
I think the first thing he says, I've got some definite arrangement ideas. Welcome to the Jungle needs to be different.
Oh, right. Ooh. Yeah, he wanted to rearrange the entire
that was the first day we met him, so it was over that day.
Yeah.
We just sort of hung around for a little while.
You know, I picked up the book. You know, I was going to read a few pages just to get a feel before he came in here, and I can't put the thing down. In 2 days, I read. Actually, it's like 230 pages.
Wow,
in 2 days, I can't put the thing down.
Cool.
And I'm amazed at how open and honest you're being in this book.
Well, I don't have anything necessarily to hide. There is a lot of stuff that's not in the book, which I just didn't think was really necessary, or, you know, and there's drug stuff in there that could go on for days, and I said, I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I did all this and I did that. So I just put in sort of the day in the life stuff and left out the other shit.
Well, it starts off, the first page grabs you because it talks about your heart pounding, and you're worried about it on stage, and you feel like a weird beat on stage, which means like your mechanism kicked in.
No, it's not like a weird beat. It's like it's basically a defibrillator, like the ones you put on somebody that's, you know, heart is stopped. You know that pumping, how hard that is. It's like that internally. So what happened was when it went off, it was like getting hit in the chest with a baseball bat, and you see a little blue light, and I didn't know what it was. Right, because I just got this thing, but I didn't know anything about it, right? And I thought it was maybe I stepped on a flash pot, or there was an electrical short. It was really impactful, and it happened to me like 6 times that night. And it was at Madison Square Garden playing with Michael Jackson when he did that 40th anniversary in 2001. So I'm up there in front of all, you know, that whole that arena, and having this happen and trying to maintain composure.
Wow.
And we did 2 shows. It was actually one on the 8th and one on the 10th of September, the day before 9/11. Wow. And so I saw it on TV about, you know, like a month later or something, and you never could tell that was happening.
Wow.
It was pretty intense, though. And I had it adjusted. What the problem was there was it basically, if your heart goes too fast, it kicks in, and if it goes too slow, it kicks in. If it goes too fast, it's at the top of your aorta, right, or whatever you call it, and so it's a real sort of high, real impactful kind of slamming thing. And if it's low, it's sort of like a low thud. So the ones I was getting were the high. Well, what it is my heart rate bounces up to about 10% of normal, if not maybe a little bit more, when I go on stage, just naturally, the adrenaline. I forgot to tell the doctor that, so I had to have it adjusted.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Funny
stuff.
But it grabs you and immediately realize it's a great way to open the book, man. It's like
that's what my editor thought. I was actually, you know, I was sort of I was on the fence about that.
And we talk about the autobiographies and stuff, and bravo to you that you didn't spend too much time on your upbringing. You just gave the facts, like the bullet points.
Yeah.
I hate when you pick up a book on someone you really wanted to get to know, and they spend like 100 to 200 pages, and then when I was 12 years old, you're like, oh my God, does all this need to be in the book? I want to get to the Guns N' Roses stuff. I want to get to the Velvet Revolver stuff.
I felt really uncomfortable getting into that sort of self-importance thing, or taking yourself too seriously. Oh, like I was like,
right.
Who cares?
But it was just right. You gave enough where I sort of understand what kind of upbringing you had.
Yeah.
You know, that you had a white father, a black mother. You were brought up in Paris a little bit, then moved back to the States.
I was conceived in Paris.
Conceived in Paris.
Born in England.
But you got a lot of family still that was over there, and you didn't see them for many years, and then they went to a Guns N' Roses show years later.
Yeah, okay, you got it nailed.
I just want to prove that I read the book, I guess. Yeah, look at you.
But I don't think I spent too much time on any one particular subject. It sort of hits on things, gives a brief synopsis, and moves on.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people...
I was very uncomfortable writing the book and talking.
Really?
About it. It's not me. It's like, yeah. But that was one of the fears.
It's called
I had
Slash.
going into it. Yeah,
I know. What are you gonna do?
Actually, it's funny. Last night at the show, the guy who plays guitar now for Guns N' Roses was there. I don't remember his name. I met him. Seemed like a nice fella.
Yeah,
I never heard of him
I don't know
before.
him.
Yeah, I didn't. I also didn't know how much you were into the heroin.
Yeah, I was pretty, a big fan of the H.
Big fan.
I always thought it was just heavy drinking and a drug here and there. I didn't know that the heroin was really a major part of your life for a while.
I never took it on the road, and I didn't take it into the studio. It was something. If I was working, I didn't need it, but when we were on off time, I just didn't know what to do with myself, and I would get bored, and I would hook up with somebody, and and then just doing it the one time would start this whole thing rolling. And so that nobody really knew that much about it because it wasn't very public, and I was pretty private about it.
Right.
But anybody who knows us well knew I was very strung out. Anytime that we weren't working.
Wow.
Here's a stupid, like, non-musician question from, like, I'm not a musician, but, like, is there a song you can look at, like, that you did the riff for, and you're like, that's probably the best thing I've ever done?
Yeah, like there's definitely a bunch of songs that I think are amazing, or a riff that I think is amazing, or something that I wish I'd wrote or written rather. Like there's a Jeff Beck riff called Superstition, with Rod Stewart singing back in the Jeff Beck group, which is the ultimate guitar riff with the wah-wah pedal. You'd have to hear it. Anyway, there's Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. There's an endless list of great riffs. I mean, that's what influences you. That's what sort of makes you take on certain influences and adapt them to your own style, and gives you sort of your own identity.
What's your favorite riff that you came up with?
That I came up with?
Yeah.
There's a couple cool ones. This new song, or not new song, but the song on the last Velvet Revolver record, which is called Slither, I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah, right on.
Paradise City, I thought was really cool. As much as I didn't think it at the time, Sweet Child of Mine is cool.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome to the Jungle.
How good is it to be in Velvet Revolver?
It's great. It's great to be having a real band together that's out there doing it for the duration after everything that I've gone through and not really knowing where it was all going, going into the future.
Yeah, it must have driven you crazy just to have this super successful band and just not having any idea if it's just going to blow up the next day. Or...
Well, that didn't drive me crazy so much. It was, I'm a real survivor, so I would put up with a lot, very tenacious. So I didn't see it actually ending suddenly until all of a sudden I just walked.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I felt really relieved, and I just started going out and jamming, and I wasn't very focused as to what was going to be my next career move for a few years.
Did you have any clue, like, what Axl's problem was as far as
he afraid?
doing the shows? Because it became a joke when anyone would go to a Guns N' Roses concert with, like, how long did you have to wait?
I know. That really bothered me. But the thing is everybody sort of, more or less asks the same questions, and it's your guess is as good as mine. I have maybe my own opinions inside about what caused him to do that and this and that and the other, but it's not something that I like to sort of go out and publicly analyze, and I didn't do that in the book either.
I'll tell you that, but he spends about 30 or 40 pages. I can't wait to get to that section where he explains why his life's so much better without
no, but I mean,
with that Axl and that
with
whole,
all due respect to Guns N' Roses and Axl, I mean, it was probably one of the better rock and roll bands of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of it, and it's it would have been nice to see it be able to go on forever, but then it was such a dynamic, explosive, and volatile band that it almost seems fitting that it had sort of a volatile end.
Sure. But that's why I brought up how it must feel good to be in Velvet Revolver, because you had to answer Guns N' Roses questions everywhere you went, and now you got other pretty heavy things to talk about with the book and the Velvet Revolver. We saw you a couple years ago at the Hard Rock Velvet Revolver, and it looked like you and everyone else was just having a really good time on stage.
We have a blast.
This was before you guys completely blew up. There was like 400 people there, and you guys didn't care if it was 400 or 40 or 50,000. You guys were just enjoying playing rock and roll.
We got together
very
with
obvious.
that full-on garage band kind of mentality.
Sure.
We actually put it together the same way that I would have put a band together when I was in high school. Put an ad in the recycler, and it was really. See, we were looking for singers before Scott came into the picture.
Looking for guitarists, must have PA.
But,
lights.
The funny thing about just because you mentioned unfortunate. The funny thing about Velvet Revolver, though, was that provided a forum for everybody to ask me questions about Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
So it was that's the reason I wrote the book, is I got such a barrage.
It's like,
of,
just read the book.
Yeah, it's like,
bravo.
yeah, normally I'm not the type to write a book, you know, but it really needed to alleviate some of the pressure of having to deal with all this misrepresentation that's out there through the media.
Yeah, I'm trying not to go back to the book too much because I want people to pick it up for themselves and read it. But we mentioned the heroin thing, and I was amazed that like Guns N' Roses starting to blow up, and you didn't have guitars to play because you were like, pawning them off to get some dope.
Smack, yeah.
I was like, wow, is that amazing?
I know. It's like I have very few regrets, if none. But at the same time, there's a couple of guitars I wish I knew where they went.
Right.
You know.
And then they had to get you guitars when Appetite for Destruction was being recorded. I'm like, this is fucked up. This is where it's pretty obvious you wanted to play in a big band, and you finally get the opportunity, and your guitars are gone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, leading up into the recording of Appetite, I was a pretty bad junkie, and then once we got into the studio to record Appetite, I went cold turkey, quit everything, then realized I didn't have any equipment left.
There's probably some people out there like, what? Do you know whose guitar this was?
Yeah. One of the guitars I had that was great was a Les Paul, like a sort of I'm not sure what year it was, but it was a flame top Les Paul, and it used to be Steve Hunter's. Steve Hunter played with Alice Cooper, and he's the guy that he played a lot of solos that you guys would be familiar with. Anyway, and it was his guitar, and it was really cool. It was a little bit beat up. It had a great history to it, and I wonder how he lost it.
Yeah, right.
How did I get this thing?
Is this? You may not know the answer to this, but it's something that's been bugging me for years. I have to ask you. My Michelle, who is that written about?
That's Michelle Young, and she was a really good friend of mine and my girlfriend's back when I was in junior high school and high school.
And then Axel
and then
oh, really?
somehow it's funny because I basically left school and was pretty much a loner for a long time, and then Guns N' Roses came together, and somehow a lot of my high school and junior high school friends from way before all of a sudden sort of came into the picture, and these girls weren't really tuned up to that speed, and so they started mixing up with the likes of our band, and it was interesting because I knew them all, and my girlfriend had been my girlfriend for like 6 years when I was like 13 to 19, and all her friends, all of a sudden, a lot of them got on smack, a lot of them all of them had major problems
just
as a result
destroyed from hanging out.
Yeah. A few of them live in Minneapolis
man.
now because they needed to go over to someone's house that lives in Minneapolis. That was my old girlfriend, because she's clean, to go and sober up, and they still live there. So a trip, so Guns N' Roses took a lot of people down. A lot of people wanting to jump on the bandwagon and hang out and have a good time, and then trying to keep up with that ended up sort of going by the wayside.
And you didn't have a home for how many years?
Well, I always found some place
But
to
it was
crash.
that's
I didn't live anywhere until I got an apartment after the first Guns N' Roses tour was over in 1989.
right. But before that, you were going from your
Bed to
mom's
bed,
house, your
yeah.
dad's house, grandma's house, girlfriend's house, strip clubs, recording studios.
Yeah, recording studios
Where strippers live.
Strippers.
There's
places,
a whole
yeah.
apartment complex in L.A. where the strippers live.
That was a great place. You would have liked it. There was a lot of spirit in that building.
There's a place like that I hang out here, but they're all fat chicks.
Well, that's fat chicks do it all.
They try harder.
It's true. Sorry.
So the fat chicks?
Huh?
What, sorry to the
chicks are
fat
great.
chicks?
Yeah, why are you saying
no,
sorry to
no.
the fat chicks?
Because probably he never had to bang one.
Are you kidding?
You had a
I
few?
like big girls.
Yeah.
Silence.
Silence is there's nothing wrong with silence on the radio. It's a relaxed atmosphere.
Do you have that kind of comfortable silences on the radio?
Finally, yeah.
That's
But when we
interesting.
first started radio, it was like, someone
Yeah.
talk. But now you just kind of let the moment just be for a second,
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Let it sink
That's
in.
cool.
Especially when a joke bombs.
Uh-huh.
We like letting the person have to sit there and just suck
doing
it up,
it, yeah.
eat their balls.
Well, Jimmy brought that to the radio show. Back in the day when Ant and I were doing it and we would bomb on something, there was a panic. You would feel uncomfortable. You would heat up. And the other guy would try to cover for the other one, right? Jimmy was the one that brought it to the show, like, hey, let's just stop the show and enjoy that
Point
bomb.
out the bomb.
Yeah, there's nothing better than someone just bombing on a joke.
Yeah, right.
Oh, it's just awful. Yeah.
Comedians are the worst because they love going to clubs and watching other comics just eat their balls. And
There's nothing better than sitting in the back of the club. I've watched my friends just suffer, and they're pulling every fucking trick out of the bag, and they're just up there
Just
dying.
flailing. Yeah.
There's nothing more wonderful.
Yeah, we
than
have
watching
shows
your
like
friends.
that
Yeah.
too. Yeah. I'm familiar with that feeling.
Well, I know from being in a couple of bands, you never want to see the guy that replaced you playing with your band.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch that. You want to see him fuck up or sound like shit.
I was talking earlier about this with someone. I went to a Guns N' Roses show in Vegas just to go see what that was all about. You know,
Wow.
so I'd never stood in front of Guns N' Roses but I wasn't allowed in. So
Get out of here.
I've never seen it. Yeah,
They wouldn't let you in?
they wouldn't let me in.
Well, you gotta get a disguise. There,
Well, I
Slash.
didn't know that was going to happen. You know?
You gotta get a disguise. I think
They
you can
wouldn't
figure
let
something
you
out.
in.
Yeah.
Wow.
What did they say to you? You can't. You can't.
I think it was the manager at the time, and he just said, you know, what happened was I called up one guy, one of the promoters, and said, can you get me tickets into the gig? And that was the same night as the show. I flew from L.A. to Las Vegas, got to the Hard Rock, and everybody in the building knew I was coming. It was like this big thing. And so I got to the room and was getting ready to go down there with my wife and everything. And the security came to my room, knocked on the door, and says, no, we can't let you out.
Yeah.
I just stay here or leave the building.
You know what it was? They probably didn't want you to
Wow.
overshadow the guitarist.
No, I
had
think
planned.
I think they thought
That'd be a
that if
distraction.
Axl was aware that I was in there, it would intimidate his performance.
Oh, really?
Wow, man.
It seems to me, I never met the guy in my life, but it seems to me like he was afraid, like Carly Simon. A lot of people have that performance fear, and just they have a terror.
I think he's a real perfectionist, and he's especially like putting out this record that he's a little bit worried about.
How it's going to be perceived
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something?
He wants it to be amazing and have everybody perceive it as such, and he's a little intimidated by his own success.
You know what's interesting about that, going back to the book, but I can't believe, I'm amazed at how easy a lot of these classic Guns N' Roses songs came about.
Yeah.
Because you would think, especially because you do read about Axl being this perfectionist, supposedly, like some of these great songs that we all know and love, like were made in hours.
Yeah, well, I mean,
hours. You
'cause when-
came up with a riff, and someone comes in the room like, "Hey, keep playing that," and then all of a sudden
You
they
assume it's like
they fucked around with the lyrics a little bit.
grinding
I'm like,
it
that's
out.
all
No,
it-
that's
that's all
true.
it
And
took?
it would happen in a few hours, you know, in an evening, you know, basically. But I think that was just the chemistry of those particular five guys just having a good time together, and it just happened.
Like
you know?
Sweet Child O' Mine, I'll give you an example. You can't come up with the riff, and they figure something out, and then they're stuck, and Axl's just to himself, is this really true? And he's just saying to himself, where do we go? Where do we go now? Where do we go? Like, he's trying to figure out vocally where to go with this song, and someone goes, just say that.
There was, yeah.
And it was that simple?
There was a
That's
producer
bizarre.
that we were working with, and it was something like that. That was how I remembered it. It was, we got to a certain section in the song,
and you all
it
were
was
just
like, where
stuck.
do we go? And someone was like, hey, that's it, and we'll just do that.
Yeah, where do we go
It was
now?
pretty
But it
cool.
really was just, where do
But
we go
I
now?
believe in spontaneity in rock and roll. I think that you have to. I'm a perfectionist to an extent as well. Nobody beats me up more than myself about guitar playing and all that kind of shit. But you have to go with the vibe of you know, like you can't sit and think about it too much. You have to just sort of let it happen and see what comes out at the end of the day.
Creativity is
Can't
so
analyze it.
Creativity is so weird because sometimes, I mean, you know, doing a radio show, like sometimes it comes like it's so easy, like wow, you're just sitting back and it's happening, and then other times, as a creative person, you're struggling, like God, how do we get something going here?
Yeah, when you
it's
hit
so
the-
weird.
when
But
you-
sometimes you just hit that groove and you go.
Yeah, when you hit that moment where all of a sudden you can't seem to come up with anything and you start trying, and then it just gets worse. It's
right.
just like quicksand, and that's the worst feeling for a creative person. You
Yeah.
know? But it does, you know, it happens.
But you feel lazy when it's not happening. You're like, I'm a bum. I'm not doing anything creative.
Totally.
I'm just fucking off. But it kind of has to be. It has to inspire you on some level, just to. Oh, okay, here it is.
Yeah,
it moves.
When it does happen, you're like, that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think anything beats that.
How close were you to joining Poison back in the day? That made me laugh in the book.
Yeah, I know. It was. I don't know what happened. Was their first guitar player, this guy named Matt, called me up and said that he was going back to Pennsylvania to I guess his girlfriend was pregnant. He was going to get married and all that, and I should hook up with Poison. I was out in L.A. just looking for a gig, always just wandering from group to group and just picking up where I could and trying to get exposure and all that kind of stuff. And Poison was by far the biggest club band at that time, and says you should go try out for Poison, you know. And I was like, yeah, there's an image thing that was a real contrast.
A little bit of a problem.
Yeah, and so, but I went down to their rehearsal place in L.A. and And they gave me a tape of like 4 or 5 songs, and I learned those songs and came back the next day and played them with the band and kicked the shit out of them. It's like, and so they were pretty much stunned by that, because I don't think Matt was really what you consider a great guitar player, but I had a good feel, So they had me come down another day and I played, and then we had this long conversation about fashion, and that's when it really the obvious became really even more apparent.
I just imagine after you ripped up the audition and killed, that the next step was they handed you mascara and you went, whoa.
Well, yeah, it really the basis for the sort of fashion discrepancy was they asked me about my shoes, like what kind of shoes are you going to wear, and I was wearing some, what I considered cool beat up moccasins, and I was like, what's the issue with the shoes? And then I think we went on to like, well, what kind of outfit? And they sort of knew that they were getting nowhere with it. And so when I was leaving that day, though, Cece was walking in, and that was the classic part of the whole thing. Was I was walking out and Cece was walking in. We didn't know each other, but he was like dolled up in like light blue and white and blonde teased hair, and that was an audition. I guess it was a sort of dress rehearsal to him, and I just said, "That's the guy."
Yeah, enjoy the gig,
and
dude.
I got the phone call saying that's not going to work out. We're going to use CC, and I was like, all things considered, it was sort of a relief, And I moved on to do some other stuff, and consequently, Guns N' Roses started, and then we became sort of like, sort of pseudo rival bands in LA because we hated them, and they didn't necessarily hate us, but we had such a bad attitude they couldn't help it. They had to hate us because we hated them so much, and that's the way it went.
How do you feel if you're poisoned though and you're blue getting slashed over shoes? Fucking idiots.
Yeah, well,
that was the scene back then. Everyone was wearing the makeup.
No, but CC is so perfect for that band. He couldn't have been anybody else. It was a match made in heaven for them.
And there was a moment Guns N' Roses like slightly went that way with glam, and then said, "You know what? We don't need to do this."
Well, there was we came from sort of the Hanoi Rocks, New York Dolls. Kind of, like early Rolling Stones kind of mentality. The glam thing in LA was more like trying to put together like a mixture of Kiss and T-Rex or something. Mm-hmm. It was very glam. David Bowie, all that. We were sort of like a gutter glam. And so we had that look, but we sort of, got sort of tired of having to make the effort to do it. It wasn't something that we really tried real hard. It wasn't like an image that we were concocting. You know what I mean? That was sort of what we wore at the time, and it just started to fall off and just become jeans and T-shirts.
It's definitely a refreshing change from a lot of the hairband stuff that was going on at the time. You guys came out and people were just like, it was a kick in the ass, like, holy shit. Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely,
this is rock.
Definitely a good time. I think Motley Crue was the first glam band that came out of, like, serious glam band, and that was a real image for them, and I think everybody else was sort of following
that. They kind of,
A lot of everybody was just trying to look like a bunch of fags. Right?
that's what it boiled down to. It was like, what the fuck are these guys doing, man?
You played on a... I'm sorry.
No, it's just with the big teased out hair and even the choreography and the videos.
Remember bands like
are
White
you guys
Lion?
Fucking each other? What are you doing? White Lion.
Right.
You played on I Ain't No Nice Guy.
Yeah,
with Ozzy and Lemmy. It's one of my favorite. That's unheralded songs.
That is a great song, and Lemmy wrote it. Lemmy's a great songwriter.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
I was really proud to play on that song. I still actually have the lyrics from the original when he first gave them to me, and in my acoustic guitar case. Because it's a great lyrics. It really says a lot about a lot of us.
Yeah. It's really great, and it sounded almost like when he did it. Because I've asked Lemmy's manager. I wanted to hear a version with just Lemmy singing. I'm an Ozzy fanatic, but it sounded like they were in different studios when they
the original version with just Lemmy singing the whole thing, I have to admit, is better.
Yeah.
It's more personal.
Yeah, there's a live version.
I actually might go back and cover that song one day.
Oh, it's great, dude.
Oh, Jimmy, I can't believe you actually said something that kind of wasn't pro Ozzy.
No. I was just saying.
Ozzy's great on it, but there's something about the way Lemmy sings it. It sounds so him. And when Ozzy comes in and sings it, it sounds like Ozzy singing Lemmy's song.
But he would never admit to anything like that.
No, I would on that one though.
Jimmy would suck Ozzy's dick.
Jimmy's the biggest Ozzy fan.
It's not gay if you're humming Crazy Train. But no, it just sounded like they were in different studios. And Lemmy, when you hear Lemmy saying something like that, or like 1916, it's like to hear Lemmy kind of singing like a ballad is just great because he's such an animal. I'm singing something soft.
It really comes from the heart with him.
Yeah.
Ozzy. It begins and ends with Ozzy with
Well,
Jimmy.
yeah, but also, I mean, I'm a Motorhead freak too, and Iommi, you have to love Iommi, right?
Yeah, I love Iommi.
Oh, good. We had that.
No, he's great. We Velvet Revolver opened for Sabbath on the Monsters of Rock tour a couple years back. It was a great tour. It was great to see Black Sabbath all back together and doing it. They sounded amazing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had, who was it? Stuart Copeland from the Police over, we interviewed him, the drummer, and I asked him about Bill Ward, and he went, who is that? And I wanted to spit on him.
Oh, yeah.
He did not know Bill Ward.
He seemed clueless in general with music. You didn't know that Puff Daddy, redid one of his songs. It was, a little strange, man.
Like, he had a great band. I mean, it's wonderful, but enough already. How do you not know Bill Ward?
Looks like he really wasn't into doing the rock thing. He kind of was just thrown into that. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
He seemed like
who are we talking about again?
Stuart Copeland.
That's what I thought you said.
That makes me happy, by the way, too. That Slash, you said, who is he? Good. Fuck him.
Stuart Copeland is the drummer.
From the Police.
He's sort of a college drummer kind of guy. He's really, really good technical drummer, though.
Yeah.
I got to say that. But I couldn't imagine him knowing shit about shit.
No, he's a rock star. He's not a rock star vibe. It's and then we get it.
One of the music thing from the book, I was really surprised to read that you were a Cars fan, or you heard the Cars' first album.
Yeah.
Because all the other bands you mentioned in the book, of course, Quiet Riot, and it runs the gamut. But then the Cars.
Yeah, the Cars. Well, there was during the very beginning of what you would consider the new wave run, the Cars were like one of the first bands that came out, and that first record was really cool.
I love the Cars, but
really
I
cool
just
record.
Can't imagine Slash would be into a band like the Cars.
I like the Cars, and Elliot Easton is a great guitar player, and they just had a very cool kind of sound and songwriting kind of thing.
I think again that was another band that kind of other bands took up that
Well, by 1982, we had a lot of bands like the Cars. Even the Cars were the Cars.
Yeah. I thought was interesting what I read, 'cause I haven't read as much as Opie has in the book, but you talk about your mom being, I think, a clothing designer, or she designed all these things for these cool. So
David Bowie and others.
Bowie, and as a kid, who was it? George Harrison, and apparently your mother said that you did meet Lennon. But you don't remember meeting John Lennon.
She did a suit for Lennon, and she also did something for Ringo Starr, which I did meet him. But and I still actually know him from that period. But John Lennon, I don't remember ever meeting. But she did do some clothes for him. It's great.
Damn, if you had to remember
she made clothes for a lot of people. I could sit here and just go through this long list. It was very cool. And I, of course, didn't totally appreciate it at that age, but looking back on it, it's like, that was good people to be hanging around.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, when you talk about going into the family history, you went into just enough family history, where we got to know your mother, your father a little bit, but it wasn't so much. Some people go back generations because they want to fill book space.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that. But you made it, interesting to read, because, of course, you want to know something.
Yeah, with that, we're getting the word he's got to go.
Oh, okay.
Slash is a busy man.
Over there? Yeah. Oh, no. Who's saying that?
I gotta. I swear. Usually we do that as a gag, but they really did give me a note saying that you gotta go. When we're bored with someone, we'll go, they're saying you gotta go, and the person will start looking around like,
who said that? I'm alone.
No one said.
You said that.
I'm alone.
But I swear to God, I can't even show you the post-it. You really do have to go to other interviews.
His people are saying, I came with nobody. What are you talking about?
I did that in front of Ed Asner.
It was the worst moment ever. Lou Grant from Mary Tyler Moore. Who doesn't love Ed Asner?
I love Ed, yeah.
Of course, you don't want to hear this story.
What'd you do? You told him.
It was terrible.
You know what? We got to go.
He was Anthony was playing poker at where were we? L.A.
The Commerce Casino.
And I was doing the show with Jimmy and a few other people, and Ed Asner was boring the hell out of us. I just looked down like, they're giving me the sign that you got to go. Or what did it?
Ben did. Our old producer moved a certain way, and Ope said, they're saying that you got to go. And he goes, and Ed goes, what do you mean? And he goes, well, that's the signal they give us when a guest is being boring. And my heart sank. I'm like, this is Lou Grant.
Then he called me the Destroyer, got ugly, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it was very
But they're really telling me you have to go. I swear to God.
All right.
You're probably doing a million interviews today. Are you doing any signings today? Did
I got a signing tonight in Jersey. Where in Jersey?
I wish I had it in front of me for you.
What?
I don't know. What?
Bookends.
Oh yeah, that's
Come
right.
on in.
Bookends.
Oh, Bookends in Ridgewood. That's an
Ridgewood.
independent store. That's okay.
So we did one in Huntington in Long Island yesterday.
Huntington
and then
at the book review?
Yeah.
They get everybody.
And then we did Barnes & Noble downtown.
You got a picture with Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I got a picture of Bill. Hey,
outside that bookstore.
Slash, always a pleasure. We love you. You know that. The book is awesome. Right. I was only going to read a few pages because very busy these days, but I'm like, holy crap, I can't put this thing down.
Oh, that's cool. cool.
And
I'm glad. This is my first book, so I definitely didn't really know what I was doing.
I can't wait to read the rest. I just got to the part where actually one of your friends, well, leave it for the book.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Leave it for the
See,
book.
that's what I mean. I'm that excited. I want to just blurt out everything I'm reading.
Sorry, that's something that happens here in town. Right?
Yeah.
I've never seen him actually take a book and make sure the intern gave him a good one-sheet on it.
Really?
No.
You don't understand. He never reads a. Not that you don't read a book. I don't mean that.
I read.
I don't mean that. I mean the guest books. He'll always just go. I got nothing on this one. But
A
he
good
really
handful of guys I talk to have no shame in going, I didn't read it. But I heard, I Googled and it says some stuff about. Yeah.
Most books are a waste of time. Let's be honest. I mean, Dirt was amazing.
I stopped actually reading rock and roll books a long time ago because.
Did you read? You read Dirt. They're all your boys.
I know, so I didn't read it. I know.
Oh my god, that's amazing. As far as
read it?
I got turned off of rock books a long time ago because they were just the product of a lot of conjecture and sensationalism and this and that and the other. It was like somebody's fantasy to sort of take the topic and make up stuff and fill a book with it.
Wow,
but an autobiography or like Dirt or the Aerosmith book, that's where the guys actually sit there.
She even has her coat on. Jeez, give us a break here. Velvet, just give us the big Velvet Revolver. Where are you at with that?
We're going back on the road. We just did a 2.5 month stint in the States. We're going to Japan and Australia next month. And we start in Europe in January. So a lot going on all at the same time.
Yeah, nice. And I love the Velvet Revolver stuff big time.
I appreciate it.
The book is great. It's called Slash, and obviously it's going to probably hit the bestseller list. It's fantastic.
That'd be cool.
All right, look, and now this guy's coming close to drag you out.
But thanks for having me.
No
It's
problem,
great talking to you guys. And
great having you in here,
Let me
man.
play Guitar Hero for a second just to remind you how bad I am at it.
It was great to watch our own Danny really freaking out.
All right.
And folding under pressure.
You're folding under pressure, Hendry.
She's picking up her pocketbook. We got to get out of here. All right, it's Slash, everyone. Opie and Anthony. We'll be back in a bit.
Thanks, man.